Hi, this is Leah from Palm and Grace. This is a comprehensive video tutorial of our travel planner spreadsheet. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to use all the great features of this spreadsheet. I'm planning on doing a lot of traveling this fall, and this is the exact spreadsheet I plan to use to map out my travels. The link to purchase the spreadsheet will be below, and if you have any questions at all, please be sure to reach out to us. And without further ado, let's get into the video tutorial. The very first thing that I want to note about this spreadsheet is that I want you to be able to use it in the way that will best help you plan your travels. So that means if you don't need certain tabs, you can easily delete those tabs by right-clicking on them and clicking Delete. You can also hide columns or sections of the spreadsheet that you don't need or don't plan on using. So for example, if you want to hide a section, you can highlight those rows or columns, right-click, and click Hide Columns or Rows. This will help to make the spreadsheet better fit your needs. Once you're ready to start using the spreadsheet, the very first tab you're going to go to is the Start tab. On the Start tab, there are a couple things you'll want to do to set up your spreadsheet. The very first thing you'll want to do is add in your currency symbol. You can either type it in or copy and paste it from the web. The next thing you're going to do is add in your currency code. So for example, my currency is the US dollar, so I would type in USD. Then you're going to select from the drop-down the day of the week that you start your week off with. So for example, for me that is Sunday. Finally, you're going to add in different categories for your itinerary planning. You can easily come back and add to this list in the future, so no worries if you don't have all the categories figured out yet. However, I'll add in some example categories to reference. After this, the next tab you're going to go to is the Trip Info tab. In this tab, you're going to fill out all the general information of your trip. The very first thing you're going to do is add in a start date for your trip, which you can do by double-clicking this blank cell and selecting from the calendar, or typing it in using the month, day, year format. Then you can add in an end date as well. Once you add in both a start date and an end date, you'll be able to see the number of days and nights of your trip, and the calendars over here will automatically update and highlight with the days that you'll be gone. After this, you can add in the different countries or states that you'll be visiting. If you've selected to use the US map version of this spreadsheet, then instead of countries, you'll just add in state names. This is also optional, but you can add in the start date and end date of the different places that you'll be visiting along your trip to see which days you'll be there. Once you add in a country name, that country should automatically highlight in the geomap to the right. And lastly, you can add in a vacation name down below. If you're visiting one specific continent, you can also change your geomap to reflect this. For example, if I double-click the map and go to Customize, then to Geo, then to Region, I could select Europe and just see all the European countries. And now it is way more zoomed in like this. One important thing to note is that if you do this here, you'll also have to do it separately on the Overview tab for the map there, and you may see an error if you try to do it, but if you just click OK, then you'll be completely fine. The next tab is the Overview tab. However, as you can see, we don't have much filled out here since we haven't filled out much of the spreadsheet. So for this reason, we'll come back to this tab later on. However, here's a quick example of what this tab can look like as you fill out more information and begin going on your trip. The next tab is the Travelers tab. This tab is your all-in-one place to keep track of essential traveler information. Again, I want you to use this tab and this spreadsheet as you need it. So if there are sections or columns that you don't need, you can easily highlight them, right-click, and click Hide Columns to streamline your experience. If you decide you want them later on, you can easily click the arrows and they should appear here. In this tab, you can add in different group names. So for example, if you have multiple families going on one trip, you can add in different names for those groups. And then you can also add in all the travelers' names, their respective group, the type of traveler that they are, so child, adult, or pet. You can add in their date of birth by double-clicking the cell and selecting the date from the calendar, or you can type it in using the month, day, year format. And then their current age will appear and their age at the start of the trip will appear. We also provide you some custom columns over here, and you can even add more by right-clicking Insert One Column Left. Additionally, we add an area for travel information such as the frequent flyers number, the airline membership, and then some custom columns, their passport information, and their visa information. Again, you can use this tab completely to your liking, and if there are parts that you don't want to use, that is completely fine. However, the parts that I do suggest that you use are the group names and then the first and last names of all of your travelers. The next tab is the Flight Seats tab, which is a tab that I know my family would love if we were going on a large trip. So this tab will help you to streamline that and figure out the seating arrangements. Here's an example of what this tab looks like with a bit more information filled in. You can add in the flight date, and then you can also add where the flight is from and where it's going. And then you can add in the travelers' names over here and then their seat numbers. Then you can also easily sort from A to Z to figure out in ascending order who is sitting where, so you can easily see who is sitting next to each other and who is by each other and so on. And it is totally as easy as that. And you can do this for up to 10 flights in this tab. The next tab is the Bucket Lists tab, which is an incredibly easy tab to use. Basically what it is a place for you to keep track of what different people want to do on the trip that you're going on. So for example, you can add in the traveler name, the specific location where they want to do this, and then you can add in details. And then once you've done it or once you have it planned, you can easily check that off so you can see what % of the bucket list you've completed. The next tab is the Near Each Other tab, which is a tab I designed to help you with your planning so you can easily see which activities and hotels and everything else is near a certain location to better help with your planning. You can use this tab completely how you want to use it. One thing that you may notice is these link symbols over here that is in each of the boxes. This is so that you can easily add a link to the respective hotel or restaurant or whatever it is, so you can easily click back to it. So to do this, just click the link and then click this link up here, which says Insert Link. And then you can add in the link by pasting it in or typing it in, and then the link will become a hyperlink. So for example, if I do palmandgracedesigns.com and add it in, it will then hyperlink to our website. So you can do this for anything, for any restaurant, for any activity, for any hotel, Airbnb, whatever it is, you can add in a link and then easily click it and jump on over to it from there. And you'll see this throughout the spreadsheet, so that is how you will use that. And I added in a number of these sections to help with your planning. Now you may notice that multiple of the tabs have a magnifying glass symbol next to them, and that means that those tabs are specifically for research. You can use these tabs to look for different places. So the magnifying glass symbol helps to group these tabs and show that they are research-specific tabs. All these tabs are optional to use, and you can use as much of them or as little of them as you would like. So let's take a look at the Accommodations tab. In this tab, you can add in the information and compare up to 30 accommodations, whether it be Airbnbs, hotels, or whatever you would like. So right off the bat, a couple of things that I want to note is that this checkbox over here is for if you have booked a place, so you can easily see which places you have booked and which places you have not booked. Any blue columns are fully automated, so you do not need to type in these tabs, as the numbers will automatically update for you. And then these checkboxes over here are so you can check off which amenities apply for each place. Another really great feature of these tabs is that you can add in images, and we've made this incredibly easy for you. To do this, you're going to go to the website of the accommodation or the transportation, car rental, activity, whatever it is that you're looking at. And for this example, I'm just going to pull up an image from Unsplash. And then when you find an image that you want to add to the spreadsheet, you're going to right-click the image and click Copy Image Address. It's super, super important that you click Copy Image Address so that this works correctly. Once you do this, you can go back into the spreadsheet, and in the blank cell next to the checkbox, you are going to right-click and click Paste, or you can do Control-V or Command-V. Once you do this, it will take a couple seconds, and then the image should appear in the box. That way, as you're using the spreadsheet, you can easily see which information aligns with which activity or accommodation, car rental, restaurant, etc. And then again, you can see these links here, so you can easily add in a link back to the page. One last thing I want to note that each of these tabs has is an address or chip box. So in this box, you can either add in the address by typing it out, or you can add in a location chip so you can easily click it and open it in Google Maps. So here's how you do that. What you're going to do is you're going to type in the @ symbol, and then you're going to begin typing in the address or location. So for example, if I type in Rome, the place appears here, and then I can click it, and then a chip has been added in. If I click this chip, it will appear here in Google Maps, and then I can easily open it in Google Maps. So as you can see on this tab, you can add in the image, location, name, type of accommodation, so maybe hotel, Airbnb, hostel, or whatever you would like here. You can add in an address or chip. You can add in different reviews and ratings, and then you can add in the website that you found the ratings on. You can add in the number of rooms that you're booking. One thing that I do recommend is if you're booking 2 different types of rooms in a hotel, so for example, if you're booking a suite and you're booking a standard room, you may want to add those separately so you can see the costs more accurately. Let's say the cost per night is $150 and there are 4 guests staying there. You can see the estimated cost per person for each night, and then you can add in the number of nights, and you can see the estimated total cost and the estimated cost per person. You can also add in any room information, location information, availability, contact information, and the cancellation policy, and you can add in any amenities over here. You can also totally change any of these options up here to match what you're looking for. The Activities tab is very similar to the Accommodations tab with a few exceptions, and here's what it looks like when it is more filled out. So as you can see, I've added in some information for a Colosseum tour that I made up, and you can add in a bunch of information here. The main thing that is different about this tab, and this is also on one of the other tabs, is the pricing. So we've added in a couple different pricing options because we know that different places will price things differently, and you can choose to add in the numbers where they apply for the specific activity or whatever you're looking at. So you do not need to fill in all these sections, just the one in which the pricing applies to you. So for example, you could add in a group rate, so maybe it's $500 for 10 people, and then you can see the cost per person. If it's a standard rate for everyone, for example, if it's $25 per person and it doesn't depend on the age, you could add in that, and then the number of people, and the total cost will appear here. If the price is broken down by age, you can also add that in here. So we include space for a child rate, adult rate, and a senior rate. So for example, if a child rate is $5 per child, and then you can add in the number of children attending, and then an adult rate is $10 per adult, and then you add in the number of adults attending, and then same for the seniors over here, and then you'll see estimated total costs over here in this column so you can compare the pricing. And if you add in information in a different section, you'll still see the total cost. So that way you can easily compare the prices of different activities. Next is the Flights tab, and as you can see, it's already slightly different from the other tabs. In this tab, we have 3 different colors, which is based on if the trip is one way or a round trip. The only difference between round trip A and round trip B is the colors of them. We wanted to make it so you could easily distinguish between the details of different round trips. So we added in round trip A and round trip B so you could easily distinguish them based on colors. So again, the only difference between round trip A and round trip B is the colors so that you can easily tell the difference between them. In this tab, you can add information about where you're flying, the date, which you can add by double-clicking and selecting the dates, the airline, the type, which is one-way or round trip, the route, which is either direct or layover, domestic or international, departure time, arrival time, and the length. So for example, if you're leaving at 11 a.m. and you're arriving at 1 p.m., you could add in that it's 2 hours long. You can also add in information over here, such as the cost per seat, the seats needed, and then any extra costs. Then you can see the estimated total and the estimated cost per direction. This is helpful if you're booking a round-trip flight so you can see about how much it would be per direction. If you're booking a round-trip flight, I recommend adding in the information for that round trip to the top line. So as you can see, I have a round trip here, and I added in the information to the top line here. And same with this round trip, I added in the information to the top line here. And this is just because I think it would help the best with organization. Moving on, you can also add in any layover information. And one thing that you'll see is that if you check off if there is a layover, a globe symbol will appear over here, so you can easily see, just looking at it, which flights have layovers and which ones do not. And then moving on, you can also add in information such as luggage, services that are available on the flights, flight availability, and any notes. Again, this tab is completely for you to use how you think it would help you best with your trips. Moving on is the transportation tab, and is very similar to the flights tab. We have one-way and round-trip options, so you can easily distinguish between different round trips. We also have a section where you can check off if there are any changes, so you can see that just at a glance. You can add in change information and any information on departures, arrivals, times, availability, cancellations, and any of that information. We also add in different pricing tiers over here because we know different types of transportation will have different types of pricing. So very similar to the activities tab, you can use either a group rate, standard rate, or a child, adult, and senior rate. And the estimated total costs will appear over here, so you can easily compare the prices. Moving on is the car rentals tab, where you can add different information about cars you can rent, the rental companies, where you can rent them from, and any important information. So for example, you can add in an image, the vehicle type, make and model, the rental company, and then a link to it, the number of seats, luggage space, rental company information, specific reviews for that car, rental pickup details, rental drop-off details, and then pricing estimates. You begin by adding in the start date and the end date, and the total number of days will appear here. You can add in the rental cost per day, estimated insurance per day, any other daily costs, and any other one-time costs, and the estimated total cost will appear here. And if you are traveling with a group, you can add in the number of people and see the estimated cost per person. And then lastly, you can add in any other car details and some different features that you want to make sure the car has, so you can check them off if they apply. And finally, the last planning tab, which is one that I think I will use a ton, is the food and drink tab, so you can research different restaurants, breweries, whatever you're looking for. You can add in an image, the place name, the type, location details, affordability, which is a drop down where you can select the number of dollar signs based on how expensive you think it will be, the cuisine type, formality, popularity, contact, any reviews, and any other details over here. So after you've done your research on all the different topics, the All Bookings tab is where you can put all your booking information in one place. So this can be a really helpful resource for you. One thing I want to note right away is that the information does not automatically transfer over from the other tabs. Unfortunately, that would just be incredibly complicated, and there's some different information here than on the other tabs as well. Additionally, I want you to be able to use this tab to add in the exact total costs, opposed to just estimates, but if you would like to add in estimates instead, that is totally fine. A couple other things to note is that at the top you can easily jump to certain sections by clicking the link symbol and the hyperlink. So for example, if you wanted to jump down to car rentals, you could click the link there and jump down to that section. Another thing to note is that you can scroll to the right to add in the date that you booked different things, and you can even add a rating for fun. You can also hide different sections that don't apply to you. So for example, if you're planning a trip, such as a road trip where you're not going to need any flights, you can easily hide that section by highlighting the rows, right-clicking, and clicking Hide Rows. And that way this tab will be way more tuned to what you actually need. So here's an example of what this tab may look like when you begin to add in some information. It's incredibly easy to do, and for any dates you can easily double-click and select the date from the pop-up calendar, or again you can type in dates using the month, day, year format, and you can store all of your essential information in one place. Now one thing that you may note is that if you try to print this tab, which you can do by pressing Command P, Control P, or going to File and then down to Print, it's going to be extremely small. However, there is an easier way to do this so it will better fit the page. What I recommend doing is highlighting the cells that you want to print. So just like this. Then when you go to print, up here where it says current sheet, you can select that drop down and then click selected cells. And then it will only print the section that you have selected, and it is way more legible this way. So again, I think this is a great tab to store in all your booking information. Another thing you may be wondering is if you need to add in more rows, how do you do that? Since if you do right click and insert one row above, it's going to look a little strange due to the layout. However, you can easily change this by highlighting the row above and then clicking the dot over here and dragging it down so the format will copy over. If any text transfers down with it, you can easily highlight it and delete it. Now if the row stays larger than it was before, you can easily right click that, click resize row, and then specify to row height and do 21. And that will get it the same size as the other rows. Another way you could do this is right clicking and insert one row above, and then clicking the entire row, hitting copy, click the row above, and paste, and then it should transfer over easily, and then you can go in and delete any text that may have transferred over. And that is how to use this all-in-one all bookings tab. And one last quick note, it works best if everything is transferred into your currency. If you need a currency conversion, there is a spot for that in the spreadsheet later on. The next tab is the checklist tab, which is an easy to use place to keep track of any tasks you have to complete. All you have to do is add in the task, and then check them off, and the progress bars above will automatically update. The next tab is our in-depth budgeting tab, which may look a little daunting at first, but I promise it's not too bad, and I think it will really help you with budgeting your trip. While it is a bit of a more in-depth budgeting system, this is what I would want if I were going on a trip. But now let's break it down step by step. The very first thing you're going to do to set up this tab is add in categories for your budget. So for example, maybe I want to do flights, and I want to spend no more than $1,000. Maybe I want to add in some food, some accommodations, and maybe some activities. And again, you can totally customize these categories to how you would like them, and you can go back in and add more categories later on. Now, this split budget by section is really unique, but it's something I really liked and wanted to add in. The purpose of this section is to help you divide your budget for each category so you can see about how much you'd like to spend, for example, per flight or per lunch or per dinner, etc. As you can see, there are some drop downs here. These drop downs will automatically appear based on the number of days and nights for your trip, and they're just here to help you in case you choose to use these numbers. So for example, if I'm on the trip for 16 days and I need 16 lunches, then I can divide my lunch budget by the 16 days, and I can see that I have about $31 to spend per lunch. And then I could do the same with dinner. And then for accommodations, I would select the nights option instead. And then for activities, maybe I'm planning on doing 5 different activities. I can add in the number 5 instead of selecting from the drop-down, and then my activities budget would be divided by that number. So yes, if you want to add in a number instead of the drop-down number, you can easily do that, and the numbers will adjust accordingly. You can also go back and adjust your budget numbers too. So for example, if I'm noticing that $66 a night per accommodation is way too low, I can go change this number, for example, to $1,500, and maybe $100 seems a little more reasonable. For flights, maybe I am flying to Europe and back from Europe. So since I'm flying 2 directions, maybe I want to divide by 2, and so I want to be spending about $500 per direction. Or if I'm just booking a round trip, I could do 1. It's totally up to you how you want to use it. Now, there may be different circumstances. For example, maybe you're taking a night flight, so you need 1 less night of accommodations, or maybe you're staying at a friend's house for a couple nights and you won't need to be paying there. You can easily adjust the numbers to fit your needs as well. So maybe instead of 15 nights of accommodations, I only need 14. And then my split amount would update. So this is a really helpful way of building out your budget. And then up here, your budget and your actual amount spent and your remaining amount will automatically update. Scrolling down, you can add in different payment method options. And then over here, you can add in any exchange rates if you'll be traveling to countries that have different currencies. So for example, if I'm traveling to England, I may need the Great British Pound. And if I'm traveling to other countries in Europe, I may need the euro. The next thing you'll need to do is find the exchange rates, and this is incredibly simple and can be done with a simple Google search. And we even give you exactly what you can search in this information right here. So for example, if I need the exchange rate between the Great British Pound and the US dollar, I would type in GBP to US dollar exchange rate. And then this number right here is exactly what I'll need. So I'll go in and add that into my spreadsheet. And you can easily do that with different currencies. And this little chart right here will update to show you how these compare to your currency. And this little chart right here will update to show you how the other currencies compare to your domestic currency. Okay, so let's add in some expenses. So to add in an expense, the first thing you're going to do is select the date, and then you can select the category from the dropdown. You can add in a description. You can add in a location, and this is totally optional. I just thought it could be helpful. And then you're going to add in the amount you paid. If you paid in a foreign currency, so for example, maybe I paid 25 euros, I would type in the number here, and then I would add in the currency code that I paid in. And over here to the right, that number will update in your domestic currency. So if I spent 25 euros on a lunch, it would be equal to 27 US dollars. If I actually paid in US dollars, I could add that over here and it will just transfer over to the right. So that way, ultimately, all your costs in this blue column should be converted to your domestic currency. You can then check off if it has been paid. You can add in your payment method, and then you can add in any other notes. As you will notice here, if you add in a lot of notes, it will be cut off here in order to preserve the layout of the spreadsheet. You can easily double click the cell to see the rest of the notes included. So now that I've added in an expense, you can see that the charts are slowly beginning to update. Since it was a very tiny amount, they've only updated a little bit, but you can still see what % of your overall budget was spent, your budget versus spent amounts, your budget versus actual spending for different categories, the categories of your expenses, and then your spending per day. If you scroll to the right, you can see a breakdown of how much was spent per day by either all categories or a specific category. You can also see how much you spent per day by category for any date by selecting from the dropdown. And you can also see a total spend by day and how much of your budget is remaining. I'll show you in a minute what this looks like in the more filled out version of this tab. If you go back to the left, you can see your budget information updating. You can see your total budget, how much you've spent, and how much is remaining. You can also see this for each category. You can see the progress updating here. And then if you go over to the split section, you can see on average how much you've spent per day. You can see your average spend compared to your split budget per category. Going back to our more filled out version of this tab, here's what it looks like when you add in multiple different expense entries. And if you're wondering what this graph is here, it's your accumulated spend over time, and then this line up here is your overall budget. So you can see how much you spend over time and where that falls with your decided budget. And then over here, you can see more of what it looks like for the breakdown per day, and you can see more of what it looks like for the total amount spent per day and the remaining budget. So I truly hope that this tab helps you with your budgeting. Again, it is a little bit more in-depth and robust, but I think it can really help you to accurately plan your trip and hopefully get things within your price range. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. The next tab is one of my favorite tabs because I think it is so useful, and that is the Conversions tab. In this tab, we can look at different exchange rates, different time changes, military time conversions, and even language translations. So let's start over with the exchange rates. This section is very similar to the budgeting tab, and you're going to find the exchange rates in the same exact way. However, the difference in this tab is that you can estimate different costs just by plugging in the numbers and seeing the outputs. So for example, if I'm planning to possibly spend 340 euros on something and I want to see what that would be worth in US dollars, I can just plug that number in and it will convert the 340 euros to US dollars, which would be about $367.20 US dollars. And again, all you have to do is just change the numbers here to see the estimated output in whatever currency. These blue columns here are fully automated. The next section is the time change section, where you can see different times based on time zones and the hours difference. So for example, I have Eastern Daylight Time compared to Pacific Daylight Time. You can see that Pacific Daylight Time is 3 hours behind, so at 5 p.m. in Eastern Daylight Time, it's actually at 2 p.m. in Pacific Daylight Time. So it's very easy to do this. All you need to do is begin by typing in the time zone and selecting it from the dropdown, and then the time zone that you want to compare it to. The hours difference will automatically appear here, and then you can select any time on the hour and see what time it would be in the other time zone. One thing that is super important here is that you select the correct time zones. We do include the daylight times, so for example EST and EDT are included. So if you get confused by time zones at all, like I do, we left a very easy way so you can determine what the time zone will be in any place in the world on any date. So to do this, just click this link here, and it will take you to the time zone converter. So say I want to look for Rome, Italy on August 15th, 2024. I just plug in the date, and then the time zone will automatically update. And what we're looking for here is the time zone written like this, so we can go back into the spreadsheet and type it in just like that. It's incredibly easy, and you only have to do it once for the different places you're traveling to, and then you can easily change the time and see the updates. The military time conversion section is already completely filled out for you so you can quickly reference, because we know that military time is used in some different places, and all you have to do is find the military time and compare it to an AM and PM time, just like that. Lastly is the language translation section, and I think this is so cool and so helpful if you're traveling to a foreign place and you just need a list of essential vocabulary. To use this section, all you're going to do is select first your language, so mine is English, and then the language you want to translate it to, and you can also change this over time. So for example, I have it in Spanish now, but if I'm going to France, I can easily translate it all into French. You can also add in different phrases. Where is the hotel? The translation will automatically appear here. And then again, you can look between different languages. So maybe I want to go to Hungarian, and the language should appear here. And this is all based on Google Translate, which is amazing that it's a built-in feature for us. The last tabs in this spreadsheet are the itinerary tabs, and we've included 9 different templates for you so you can pick the itinerary that will best fit your needs. So I'm going to do a very brief walkthrough of each of the itineraries and show you the different ways that I would recommend using them. So the very first itinerary is a very simple one that looks just like this. In it, you can add different details for breakfast, morning, mid-morning, lunch, evening, dinner, and night. And if you scroll to the right, it will include as many days as are included in your trip, and after that it will look blocked off like this, and it will also highlight your current day so you can easily see that information quickly. Due to the layout of this itinerary, I would say that the best use is on mobile. Itinerary B is very similar to Itinerary A, except it's essentially all in pictures. So this is a picture-based itinerary where you add in the URL in the light gray cells and an image will appear. So that way you can see in image form what you have planned for each day. And you can fully customize these sections on the left as well. Similarly to Itinerary A, I would say that the best use for this would be on a mobile device. Itinerary C is one of my personal favorites because it combines both images and a more written out itinerary. In this tab, you can easily add in images by pasting in URLs into these light gray cells on the left. The image will automatically appear right next to it. After that, you can add in more specific details for each thing. You can add in start times, end times, estimated lengths. You can add in categories to show what you'll be doing. You can add in more details or specific names, and then any notes to the left, followed by a link that you can add. As you can see up here, you can also turn the colors on and off for each day's itinerary just by checking and unchecking this checkbox. Another really great thing about this tab is that you can print it out. I would recommend printing this in landscape form so that all the text appears larger. However, you can also print it out in portrait form as well. It is totally up to you. Moving on to Itinerary D. This itinerary is very, very similar to Itinerary C, except it removes the images and gives more space for everything. So this is just a very vertically based itinerary, and I think it can be super helpful and amazing. Similarly to the last one, you can also print this one out as well, and I would recommend going to landscape. However, you can still choose to do portrait if you would like. Itinerary E is another great option where you can map out your day more specifically, and it also includes a to-do list at the bottom that updates as you check off the tasks, and you can add in any other notes as well. At the top of the box, you can also add in a brief summary of the day and any locations you'll be visiting. To add in an image, all you have to do is paste the URL into the beige cell up here, and the image will automatically appear. And again, you can select from the drop-downs very easily and add in more specific information for each thing you'll be doing that day. Due to the layout of this tab, I would recommend using this one most on mobile. Itinerary F is one of our two time blocking itineraries. As you'll see, Itinerary F and Itinerary G are very similar. The only difference is that Itinerary F is in 15-minute increments and Itinerary G is in half an hour or 30-minute increments. So it's slightly smaller and more compact. To use these tabs, the very first thing you're going to want to do is select a start time that will be used for each day. Once you do this, the times will automatically update for the rest of the tabs. For each day, you can add in locations, transportation information, accommodations, and a brief summary. When it's time to do your time blocking, you can easily select a category from the drop-down and then add in your details. To do the actual time blocking, select the cell and drag down over the time that it will cover, and then click the Merge Cells button up here, and the time will be blocked off just like this. If you try to do this with the links, you'll see an error, but just click OK and it will merge completely fine. So if you love time blocking, this may be perfect for you. If you realize you've made a mistake, you can always go over to another section and just copy and paste part of it over, and it will appear as normal. Or you can click to unmerge the cells just like this. And then drag down the links to reset it. So it's super easy. And again, Itinerary G is used in the exact same way. Due to the layout of these two tabs, I would also say that the best ease of use would be on mobile as opposed to printing them out. However, you can of course use them on your laptop or computer as well. Itinerary H and Itinerary I are our two calendar-based tabs. They both include 2 months, so you can hopefully see all the days of your trip. The days of your trip will highlight in blue, and the current day of the trip will highlight in an orange color. Itinerary H is a more image-based tab. You can easily add in an image to any of the cells by pasting the URL into the light gray box, and the image will appear. Beneath that, in the beige section, you can add in any details of what you're doing that day. This tab is a great one to print, and I would recommend doing this in portrait so that you can get the full calendar on both pages. Lastly, Itinerary I is incredibly easy to use as well. In this tab, you can add in the times in the light beige cells, and then you can add in details in the lighter cells next to it. Each day has 5 different slots, and if there's a different way that you would like to use this calendar, you can absolutely do that as well. This tab is another great tab to print out, and I would recommend printing this one out in landscape so that you can fully view the calendars on each page like this. Those are all of our itinerary templates. If you need help remembering which itineraries are best for what, we do have this listed out for you. You scroll down on the How to Use tab. And lastly, going back to the Overview tab, here's what it looks like when you have more information filled out in your spreadsheet. This tab is completely automated, and the only thing you need to add is an image, which you can do by pasting in a URL to the image in this little square over here. Once you paste in the image address, the image will automatically appear here. If you do try to accidentally edit anything in this tab, you'll see an error pop up, and just click cancel and it will be completely fine. Here's where you can view at a bird's eye view different information for your trip. And again, it's fully automated and you don't need to do anything else here. Again, a very quick note, if you'd like to change the view of this GeoChart, you can easily do that by double-clicking, going to Customize, Geo, and then changing the view. If the arrow pops up here, just click OK, and it's totally fine to change, and the map will be updated just like that. Lastly, one quick thing I wanted to note is that when you open the spreadsheet, if you add in any links to images, this warning bar may appear here. All you have to do is click Allow Access and everything will work great. And that concludes our video tutorial for the Travel Planner spreadsheet. Again, a link will be left in the description box below for you to purchase the spreadsheet, and if you have any questions at all, please be sure to reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to help. I'm so excited with how the spreadsheet turned out, and I truly hope that you can use it to transform your trips and make travel planning much easier. Again, I'm so excited for you to get to use this spreadsheet. Thanks for being here, and I hope to see you around again here soon.